Fall of the Red Claw, Gotham City, New Jersey, January 3rd, 2022. It was a cold night in Gotham City, and in a luxurious penthouse somewhere in the city was a very familiar woman prowling around. It was none other than Catwoman, and she was in this luxurious penthouse looking for something to steal. As she looks around the penthouse, she sees a picture. The picture on the wall was the painting of a very familiar woman, none other than Red Claw. Catwoman proceeds to take down the painting to reveal a wall safe hidden behind it. The safe contained a digital keypad, and Catwoman proceeds to take apart the keypad and starts fiddling around the wires until the safe opens up. Catwoman proceeds to take what she wanted to get out of the safe: several thumb drive sticks and some paperwork. But unbeknownst to Catwoman, she pulled off a very rookie mistake. She ended up triggering a silent alarm. Of course, Red Claw's goons come into the room and point guns at her, and they say, "Alright, lady, drop everything and put your hands up." Catwoman looks at the men that had the guns pointed to her, and then Catwoman quickly made her moves, surprising them, and she took them down. Catwoman proceeded to run, and she runs up to the roof. Then she was surrounded by several more of the Red Claw's men, and then one of the men says, "Alright, Catwoman, our boss knew you were going to come sometime, so you have a choice. Drop everything and go peacefully, or we're going to take it back by force, but you're going to be dead." And Catwoman says to the men, "Oh, I love it when men play rough." She was ready to fight, but all of a sudden, she heard a very familiar voice.
"Don't do it, they're professionals."
Catwoman turned to look. It was none other than Batman, and she says to Batman, "Oh, tall, dark, and brooding, come to save me again." And then the men attack them, and Batman and Catwoman start taking them on in a very fierce fight on the rooftop. After the two of them cleared up enough of the men, Batman had shouted at Catwoman to follow him, and the two of them leap off the roof onto another roof, and then the Catwoman followed Batman. The two of them were running until Batman jumped down, gliding to safety in an alley, and Catwoman used the rooftop storm drain to climb down, and there it was, the Batmobile, and its doors opened up, and the two of them got inside. They both close the door, and Batman starts up the Batmobile. Then the Batmobile takes off out of the alley at high speed. But soon, Batman sees in his rearview mirrors and in the radar that several motorcycles were coming up to them, and he says to Catwoman,
"Hang on, we're not out of the woods yet."
Batman quickly slams the brakes on the Batmobile, causing the two motorcycles that are pursuing them to collide in the rear and setting the riders flying right in the air over the Batmobile and landing hard in the pavement in front. And then Batman quickly dodges to avoid running them down as he was fleeing the other motorcycles. As the other motorcycles were starting to catch up to them, one on each side, Batman jerks the steering wheel to the left, taking out the one motorcyclist and causing him to collide into a parked car. Then he jerks the steering wheel right, taking out the other motorcyclist, causing him to crash into incoming traffic. And then he says to Catwoman,
"I think it's safe to say that we lost them."
And Catwoman asks Batman, "So, Batman, what happened to that really beautiful Batmobile you had before?" Then Batman says to her,
"A building fell on it and destroyed it."
And Catwoman says, "Oh, what a shame. This car's so ugly, it's so plain." Then she begins to caress Batman's arm, and she says to him, "The previous Batmobile had curves that a girl likes." And Batman quickly grabs Catwoman's hand and squeezes it tightly, and he says to her,
Alright, that's enough. End of the line for you.
Then he pulls the Batmobile into another alley and tells her to get out. And Catwoman says to Batman, I've been kicked out of better places. And then as she gets out of the Batmobile, Batman puts the Batmobile in reverse, pulls out of the alley, and speeds off into the night. And then Catwoman feels her body, then she felt something was missing. And then she says, damn it! He took the thumb drives. Later on in the Batcave, Bruce Wayne had the thumb drives in the USB ports of the Batcomputer, and he had pulled all the information. The information revealed really nothing. Just a few maps to buildings that Red Claw was renting out, and that's it. He took what he found and emailed it to the commissioner, and then he decides to call it a night. Wednesday, January 4th, 2022. It was a rainy night in Gotham City, and Catwoman was on the prowl. She still had the one thing that Batman didn't take from her, was the paperwork that she stole from the safe. The paperwork revealed that there was supposed to be a meeting going down on a yacht out in Gotham Harbor. The name of the yacht was called the Red Lady, and that was where the Red Claw was living at now, and running what remained of her vast international criminal empire, which was down to almost nothing now. And a limousine pulls up to the dock near the yacht. A passenger in the front of the limousine quickly gets out with an umbrella and opens the umbrella and puts it near the back door of the limousine, and the back door of the limousine opens up and out steps out the Penguin. The Penguin puts a cigar in his mouth, and the man holding the umbrella quickly lights it, and he says to the man, let's see what this Red Claw's selling. So they make their way to the yacht, and they get searched on the yacht, and they soon go into a very luxurious conference room aboard the yacht, and the Red Claw was at the far end of the conference table. She was now a very heavy-set woman. She was covered with tattoos, and she was nearly crippled from an encounter with Robin number 2 many, many, many years ago. And she says to the Penguin, welcome, Mr. Cobblepot. It's been a while since I've seen you. It looks like Arkham City treated you well. And then the Penguin says, once you've been in Arkham City, nothing will faze you, he says to her. And then she goes on to say, well, Mr. Cobblepot, I called you here to offer you what is left of my criminal empire, she says. And then she says to Penguin, well, Mr. Cobblepot, I'm pulling out. I'm just taking what's left, selling it to the person who's going to pay the price I'm asking for, and then I'm just going to live a very quiet life. And then the Penguin says, ha ha. So the Red Claw's finally pulling out. She says to Penguin, yes, and then she tosses Penguin a manila folder. Penguin looks at the manila folder. It was a map of what was left of her criminal empire internationally. And she says to Penguin, I'm offering everything that you see on the map, including the men that once worked for me. That's all yours for $15 million. The Penguin looks at her, and then he reclines a conference room chair back, and he says to her, not bad, not a bad deal at all. Give me 3 days, I'll let you know. And then the Penguin gets up and leaves with his men. And then afterwards, Red Claw says, oh, I really hope he buys it. Meanwhile, in the office of Red Claw on the yacht, Catwoman had opened the vault that was hidden in the office. And in there she was clearing out everything. Using a laundry bag that she nabbed from the laundry room, Catwoman was cleaning out everything. She was taking all of the jewels, all of the stacks of cash that was in the vault, and several giant pieces of gemstones, like a grapefruit-sized ruby that was in there. And once she was finished, she was ready to head out. All of a sudden, Red Claw comes into her office, sees Catwoman, and says to Catwoman, "Oh, I really hate you. It's not enough that you try to clean me out at my penthouse, but now you're trying to clean out everything that I have left. Oh no, Catwoman. Oh no, you're not getting out of here alive." And then she quickly pulls out a handgun and starts shooting at Catwoman. But Catwoman quickly leaps out of the open window of the office, and Red Claw runs over to a panel by the doorway of the office and presses a big red button on it. A couple of her men come into the office and Red Claw says to them, "Catwoman, she's here. Find her, don't kill her. Bring her to me. I'll do it myself slowly." And the men says, "Yes, ma'am," and they run out. And then Red Claw quickly runs to the gun rack of her office and pulls out an Uzi and several ammunition clips. And soon the entire yacht was alerted and were looking for Catwoman. As the men were looking throughout the yacht, suddenly the lights turn out. And then one of the men says, "Oh God, don't worry, I'm sure the emergency power will kick in." Then they realize emergency power's not kicking in. One of the goons said, "Maybe it's Catwoman." And the other goon says to that goon, "Just forget it. Let's focus on getting Catwoman right now." And soon, Red Claw was screaming at somebody on the radio to go down to the power room to find out why both the main power and the emergency powers were out. And one of the men on the radio was saying,
"Come in, Red Claw, come in, Red Claw. I'm in the power room right now, and it's a mess down here. Someone destroyed all the control panels for the main power generator and the emergency power generator." "What? What's that? Who are you? Stop. No, 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 no!"
After hearing that, Red Claw screams on the radio for some more men to go down to the power room. Meanwhile, in the very far back of the yacht, Catwoman makes it. She was about to leap off the yacht to the dock when suddenly someone opens fire at her. None of the bullets hit Catwoman, but it surprised Catwoman that she fell off the yacht. Red Claw did not hear a splash, and she quickly ran to the edge of the yacht to look over to see if Catwoman hit the water or hit the dock. All of a sudden, she heard a struggle behind her. The men that stayed behind were suddenly fighting the Batman. She says aloud, "Batman!" And then she aims her Uzi at Batman, but before she could pull the trigger, a whip wraps around her neck. And with all her might, Catwoman quickly yanks the whip, taking down Red Claw with her. As Red Claw fell, Red Claw hit her head at the edge of the dock hard on her way down to the waters below. And after Batman wrapped up beating up Red Claw's men, he heard the sound of two splashes. Batman ran to the edge of the yacht. As he was running towards the edge of the yacht, it had begun to rain again. He reached the edge, looked over, and used detective mode to light up the darkened areas. All he saw were the giant ripples in the water, but no sign of Catwoman or Red Claw. He also heard the sounds of sirens coming up as the police were arriving. That was his cue to leave. The police quickly came aboard, secured the yacht, and arrested everybody. And the eyewitnesses said that they saw Red Claw fall off the yacht. They looked around, but it was too dark to see in the waters if Red Claw was around. Later the next morning, they found her body floating in the water. She was dead. Cause of death? Drowning. Friday night, January 6th. It was a bitterly cold 21 degrees outside, and there was snow and shower mix. And like always, Batman was on a rooftop of a skyscraper somewhere in the city. As a cold wind was flapping his wet cape, suddenly Batman felt a presence behind him. It was all too familiar. He turns back to look, and it was Catwoman. And she says, "Hi there, tall, dark, and brooding. Just come by to say that I'm alright." And then Batman says to Catwoman,
Catwoman, you are 42 years old. When are you going to give up the life of crime and just try to lead a normal life?
and Catwoman says to Batman, "Maybe when you give up trying to be such a sanctimonious hero." And she goes on to say to Batman, "Besides, I'm trying to build up a nest egg so I can live a cozy retirement," she says to him. And then Catwoman approaches Batman and wraps her arms around him. And she says to Batman, "Batman, let's just me and you go someplace tropical, play house for the rest of our days, and maybe we could adopt a kid." Then Batman quickly takes her arms off of him, and he says to her,
Not gonna happen.
and then he turns his back on her. And then Catwoman angrily says, "Oh, just give it up, Batman. Quit playing this game of the ultra-moral man. You're no better than the rest of us. Last time I checked, vigilantism was against the law," she says. And then she goes on to say to Batman, "Batman, look, me and you almost got killed in Arkham City last year. That opened my eyes," she says. "And there's just really one man that I love." And she says to Batman, "I love you." Those words hit Batman harder than any weapon. And Catwoman can see it. She could see the expression in his body. It was affecting him. And then Batman says to Catwoman,
Your love is misguided. Just forget about it. I can't be with anybody. It's a long, lonely road, this life I lead, and I just can't get involved.
Then Batman turns around to Catwoman, and she could see through the jawline that he was going to say something. She felt in her heart that he was going to say those words that she wanted to hear from him. But Batman didn't say anything else. He stopped himself from saying anything more. And then Batman leaps off the building. He glides down somewhere. Catwoman looks as the rain and snow mix began to get heavier. Batman ends up in the Batmobile, and then he drives away. Inside the Batmobile, the windshield wipers were going fast. And the heater was on full blast. And then Batman says to the onboard computer,
Computer, file photo, Talia al Ghul.
and soon on the Batmobile's display screen, a picture of Talia al Ghul appears. And then Batman touches the display screen, and he says with sorrow in his voice,
Oh, beloved.
"Like and subscribe." The end.